The Spoken Token is a proud member of the Pod Studio One podcast network.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome into the big show. I am Larry Neal.
Hey, and I am Alex Wallace.
And we are the Spoken Token Podcast. Mr. Alex, sir, it is that time again, sir. It is great to see you, so I have to ask you, how are you doing?
You know, Larry, if I weren't used to you saying that over the last 7 years,
Almost. It's really
almost
close.
7 years,
It's really close.
I might actually think that you want to know how I'm doing. But sometimes it feels canned. Sometimes it feels like you're just wanting a fun, consistent opening for our podcast.
I've gotten really good at that, man. I'm delivering the heck out of that line. Don't bust my bubble, man. Come on, man. You're busting my chops, man. I'm just really good at it. I always want to know how you're doing. That's the reason why I started asking.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? We're going to flip the script. And I'm going to say, you know what? I'm doing okay, Larry. But the real question is, how are you doing?
Hey, man. Hey, I don't mind you asking, but you got to get your own cadence and your own rhythm. Don't rip me off. Don't rip me off.
All right.
I'm doing well, sir. I'm doing well. I just finished my used to be biannual, but now it is annual these last couple of years cleanse. So that's a body cleanse. So my diet's been
nobody needs to know about that.
So my diet's been very strict, and I'm feeling fantastic. Partially because it needs to happen once a year, but also too we got, of course, Gen Con coming up. So I need to get back and be in a better position to move around Gen Con.
That's true. And I would love the narrative part of my brain, and the exciting creative part would love to know that there's like this like Discord of like thousands of people that actually do an annual cleanse just for Gen Con. Hey, like that is the catalyst.
Yeah, let's get it going.
That is the catalyst for it. You start this whole new trend of like, and you meet up and like, I'm cleansing.
Well, I mean, it's been unfortunately, well, no, it hasn't been that long. It's only been since a little before the cleanse since you physically saw me, but I've lost 22 pounds since the last time you saw me.
Oh, my man. And you didn't have 22 pounds to lose.
I would say you were so kind, but you're just wrong for that. God's going to get you for telling ones that big, brother. I got to help my brother out. I need you to get back on the straight and narrow. Don't tell him that big. I appreciate the sentiment, but
and that begs the question, are there board game, are there themes that are just completely taboo that you could never make a board game of? Like, could you make a weight loss board game?
Oh, I'm sure.
Like a dieting board game? Or what other things would just be wrong?
Well,
taboo.
The first thing that I can think about, as long as it's done the right way, the first thing that I can think about is freedom, the Underground Railroad.
Yeah, now freedom, and I think you're right. Yeah, because and then
if you can make a game about that, then.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, Freedom is Underground Railroad is a board game about the Underground Railroad and the sort of the rescue of the enslaved people enslaved people and
moving slaves from south to north, and it's very difficult. It's very historically chock full of actual historical research that went into it. Academy Games did the game. It's a wonderful game. It's actually one of the early ones we talked about on the podcast. Actually.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember, what is it? What's that one that that's the Age of Sail, Endeavor Age of Sail has definitely touches on, enslavement and all that. But I mean, I'm just, all right, absolutely. You don't want to talk about slavery. That would be a taboo. I mean, but what other random thing? Toenails. I feel like that would be a taboo type of game. I'm picturing, what is that?
What? Cutting them? They're too long?
Well, that alligator game, where you pull the teeth and it snaps at you. If you had a foot and you were cutting toenails and then the foot does something. I feel like that would be taboo, right? I mean, I'm on the right track here, right?
I mean, I don't know if that word means what you think it means here.
No, taboo, don't do it.
I know.
Not
it's. I mean, we don't want to be discouraging people from foot hygiene.
It's true, and you are part of a growing cleanse culture of Gen Con. So I'm sure there are numerous people who may actually enjoy a game about clipping toenails. It just brings up an interesting point. So you are mighty spoken token listeners. If there's a game concept that you think might actually be taboo,
oh, that's good.
please send us mail. I only say that because I know we're not going to get any mail anyway. Because throwing this out there there's no consequence for me whatsoever.
That is such a good discussion. So we may have to post that up on a couple of different places.
And I'll say this. I'll even go one further.
That's such a good point.
will listen for the. I mean, I'm going to say, I won't say for anybody who sends us in an email, I'll give you a gift certificate to the.
Don't do that.
Because we may actually get several. They're like, oh, but no, I will say, all right, I'm going to say this now. I've got a gift certificate to the online FLGS of your choice for $25 for the best Taboo game theme. So Larry and I will pick out of all the submissions, and if you don't submit, you can't win. It's like AFE. You know, you don't win if you can't send it. If you don't send it, you can
email us. You can send it to us. You can answer us on Instagram. You can post on the show on our site when we post the show up. I'm not sure where you listen. Hopefully, thank you for all of you who listen wherever you listen. But if you follow the link, the spokentoken@libsyn.com, that'll take you to our site, and you can post there. I have comments open, so you can post on the episode. So you can post the answers there. You can email us. You can hit us on Instagram. You can add us about episode number 114. You can hit us on Facebook. Same thing. We need to know it's episode 114, and then give us your Taboo suggestions. And what's the deadline, my friend? Since you're summer contest giver.
I'm gonna say a deadline is going to be July the 27th. So get your submissions in before July 27th. Maybe we'll read them on the air. Again,
we're going to read them on the air.
The best one. I got a $25 gift certificate to the online FLGS of your choice.
I love it. That's fantastic. Well, man, that is great, and that's probably one
I'm
of
gonna
our
just
best
say
openings
this
ever because we're giving money away.
It's true, and I'm going to say this too. If no one does it, I'm giving myself the gift card. And then if my wife asks, I say, it's a gift card.
I'm going to give myself the gift card too. So, yeah.
We'll just I'll give you mine and you give me yours.
Yes, absolutely.
So, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what we'll do. So, hey, there you go. All you got to do. What do you think? What is it? A taboo subject for a board game.
That's right. Oh my gosh. We may have to get the gift card for not sending something.
And we don't want games that have already been done.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So
and
I'm going to
tell you right now,
slavery. It's like it's too late because freedom's already been done.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm looking for creative answers. I'm not looking for gross answers because again, it is host choice for who we give this to.
Yes. So. And if it gets too bad, it's going to be host singular, as in I've been honest. You got it.
I may end up regretting this. So please do not make me blush.
Well, before we give away any more money, I suggest we get on into the show. Hello, everyone, and welcome into the show. This time, episode number 114. Just one more episode until the big birthday bash gets underway. In this episode, Alex and Larry revisit some of their favorite board game titles and report on how they feel about them now. We talk about games by genre, what they mean, and some keywords and elements to look at within each specific genre. As we get closer to the big birthday bash, we will also still cover our patented Summer of Games game choice, plus so much more. So, sit back, relax, put another cube of ice in your cup, and turn us up as we join our hosts, Alex Wallace and Larry Neal. And we are back. Welcome back in, everyone. Mr. Alex.
Larry.
You are in the hot seat.
Hey, my seat is hot.
We're going to get into a little host hot seat. What's your genre? For those of you that are new, or those of you who don't remember, because this debuted at a Summer of Games, and I don't know that we've done it a lot, but I really love the idea. We want to pick a genre and give some highlights about the particular genre of games or gaming, genre mechanism, we'll say genre, and really share why we like it and why everyone should try games from that genre. I know we've done it once before, so let's get into it again. Yes, sir.
One point of clarification. Is it genre like Jean-Pierre, or is it genre like John the Baptist?
Boy, like John Boy.
Like John Boy?
I like genre.
Genre.
What's your genre? It is.
That's
a French
right.
word, so.
Well, all right. Or what's your genre? If you know, or genre, it could be genre. For those
is that anything like Shinra?
Who knows? Who knows? Oh man, I haven't heard about the Shinra Corp in a while. Oh, that's a deep cut for anybody.
We dealing with Shinra every day.
Goodness, that's true.
Well, all right. So hey,
and now then the next question is: it Mako or Mako?
What class soldier are you?
Oh man. Oh, you probably gave it away there. Way to go, Larry. We were getting super.
Mako and Mako. I mean, you come on, man. You gave it.
Nah. Okay, so you're gonna Mako me go first.
Yes.
So okay, all right. So I'm in the hot seat. Ouch! My seat is hot. So Larry is asking me to pick a genre of games and just kind of give you some titles. Why I enjoy the genre, and I got to be careful. I may actually lock into that and
please
continue
stop saying it. Yes.
And that may be my default way of saying it from now on, which is sad because I actually teach different genres of things, especially in theater and lit. Okay, so it is.
It's a genre.
Genre. All right. So I actually couldn't find a specific name for the mechanic that I was thinking. So I lovingly named it Dice Dictating Action Games. And ultimately what that means is the faces on the dice that you roll dictate the actions that you can actually take during the game. And so this is a really interesting mechanic in that the whole point of this is what actions you take isn't really up to you. The actions that are available to you on a turn are completely dictated by the face of the dice that are rolled. And so 3 games that came to my mind that use this, and yes, there's you'll know exactly why I picked this category as soon as I give you my first game. But because I've been talking about it ad nauseum over the last couple of weeks, but that is the Dice Throne series.
Yes.
So I did get my copy of Marvel Dice Throne, and I have been playing the snot out of it.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So,
that is awesome.
in many different forms, its balance is all get out. It's a blast. But Dice Throne is a combination card game, dice rolling game.
Yep.
It is a battle royale. Ultimately, you have a unique character who has a unique set of abilities and a unique deck. What you do is it basically I can see where the designers got the idea of the game, because the game is literally Yahtzee. You roll 3 times, you try and make the best hand you can out of the dice that you have rolled. Yep. Now I see that, and I see someone like, what if I took Yahtzee and made it a battler game? And then you can see all of the elements that they added to it. It's fantastic. It's so simple and easy, but it's also the characters that they've built now are so unique, so deep, so I
love Dice Throne. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so, all right, but ultimately the dice have numbers and the dice have faces. Mm-hmm. And and out of your 3 rolls, you can keep any number of dice that you want and re-roll as many as you want. But ultimately, after your 3rd roll, whatever you have showing dictates what action you can take on your board. So on most player character boards, one side is the actions are dictated by the faces showing, and then on the other side, it's dictated by straight, small straight, large straight. So that's where the numbers come into place. And that just says what you can do and what damage that you do to someone else. And so it's super simple. My 10-year-old is obsessed with this game. Every day, Dad, can we play Dice Run? Absolutely.
I love it. I love to hear that. That's fantastic.
And I have not beaten him once. I have not beaten him once.
That's even better.
I am taking this kid to Vegas. And I will not play.
You may not want this show to go out.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's all right. But I won't play because I can't roll well at all. And so, all right. So that's Dice Throne. And there's ultimately there's several different ways to get into this game. There's the big box sets. You've got season 1 re-rolled, season 2, and then of course Marvel There's a Kickstarter is open right now for a dual set, which they have, which I think is a genius of what they've done. Is every big box set they actually have dual boxes where you you just buy 2 characters that go against each other.
Krampus and Santa Claus.
Krampus, Krampus and no, not Santa Claus.
It is Santa Claus.
Oh, and Krampus. Yeah, that's right. You're right. So it's Christmas themed. It was hot. But you can also buy all of the previous stuff. And then there's Dice Throne Adventures, which lets you take your character through an adventure, regardless. Okay, so that's Dice Throne. The next one is War of the Ring by Ares I believe it's Ares Games. And so that's the classic 2-person, straight up literal battle for Middle Earth. It is, and I've talked about War of the Ring numerous times on this. It's such a deep game. It's narrative. It's thematic. It's
that one's main mechanic is dice rolling. I didn't know.
Yes. So both the Shadow character and the Free People character, they roll a handful of dice, and whatever faces on that dice are rolled are the actions that you can take during that turn.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so instead of just doing all the things that you want, you're limited to what the dice. But it's amazing how balanced the game is, even with that. So there's always always an exciting and and intriguing choice to make, even when your dice don't necessarily roll the way that you want them to.
Interesting.
And then finally, another dice dictating action game is Roll for the Galaxy. And this you're chucking a handful of dice, and based on whatever comes up or what phases that you can play in, and how strong that action is. This is one of my go-to 5-player games.
It's so good
because everybody's rolling at once, and again, it's one of those mechanics where I will place on my what action I want to take, and then I'll set any other dice on other actions, and with a possibility they may not trigger. But if Larry secretly chose the other action that I chose, then I get to trigger all those that I set aside on the action that I didn't necessarily take.
Yes, so clever.
It is, again, with everybody rolling at the same time, everybody playing on the same time. It just speeds through, but there's great, wonderful choices. So that's Roll for the Galaxy. There are other games here, again, where the dice dictate your actions. And I mean more than just the numbers. Like, roll your dice, move your mice. So there could be someone could say, oh, well, that's every board. No, it's not. I'm talking about the dice have the actions on them. Mm-hmm. And so that's how you choose what's going down. So, all right, Larry, am I out of the hot seat now? Am I good? Did I meet your criteria?
Yes, sir. My seat is warming up as we speak. So yes.
All right. My seat does that sometimes, but that's just because I have a particular full dinner. But we won't talk about that.
Yeah, I knew you were going to go there. As soon as I said it, that's why I didn't say anything. I kind of teed you up for it. That's my bad.
Yeah. Well, and I always try and leave a hot seat for my children because that's what dads do. Oh. That's what dads do. Oh.
So moving on. So for me, I'm going to combine a couple of things. I've got the answer, and I'm going to give you that. But the research that I used, I did want to actually talk about the research, and this is our good friends over at BGG. I love the website. There's so many different ways that you can use the information that they've gathered, and I used it to pull together my list. I initially was going to go after games that I played, that I owned, which is always a good place to start. But then I decided when I said, hey, I want to go by the genre. I want to go by the type, the category of the game. So I looked, my first choice, I looked at that, and I went to its category list, and then I clicked on categories because that word, because that, of course, is a hyperlink. And then that took me to all 6,000 entries that are considered the same type of game. And so from that, I was able to go through and find a few more titles that I own, that I've played, that I enjoy, that hopefully convey it. And for me, this time, it is adventure games. This is the summer of games. So we're definitely talking about going out on adventures and trying to work in some adventure games and some gaming sessions that maybe, give you progress from session to session. So we're talking games like Zia, Legends of a Drift System, which was the first one that I pulled in that under category it's an adventure game. And that is designed, of course, Zia, to go out and it's almost like a sandbox, so to speak, but you're going to have an adventure and it's in space and you can do whatever you want. You can be the law, you can be the outlaw, you can be a trader, you can be a pirate, you can be a smuggler, whatever it is that you want to do, it's set up to do that. But it's set to give you that adventure, that fantasy sci-fi adventure in space, because of course it is set in space. Another one is one that's a little more abstract in first thoughts, but it's got a really neat premise. And that is you wake up on an island, you've been poisoned, and you need to figure out how you got poisoned/cursed to try to save your life. And you're adventuring, exploring along the way, flipping over cards, and that is the seventh continent. Beautiful, beautiful game system. It's card-based. Your tiles that you're moving from place to place, they're cards. So it's one of the games we talked about a few episodes back that has a really unique save system too, where you can save exactly where you are. There's a little folio book that comes with the game that's almost like a trading card book that you can put the cards in so you can literally save exactly where you are. A couple of things change when you come back to it to denote the passage of time, but you're on the same space that you left. So you can always play that one, do your adventure, play as much as you want, uncover as much of the fog of war on the map as you want, meaning you can't see what's out there till you get there. And then if you need to stop or you want to stop, you can very neatly and very succinctly pause it exactly where you were, go do with real life stuff, and then come back whenever you want to. But that adventure, man, going through it more than every time you go through it, it's going to be different. There's so many cards and there's so many different combinations of the way things can happen. So you've got your own little adventure every time you go through it. And the last one is one that I've been exposed to here recently that is, Alex is going to not believe this. It's app driven.
What?
It is. I've got a copy on the way with my own money. And that is Destines. It's really good. From Lucky Duck Games.
Yeah, I've that's a
it's
kind
really
of it's like a dungeon crawl type, right?
Yeah, it is. It's really good. Yeah, we played it.
I've heard good things about this one.
Yeah, I played it for the first time at the game days that Meeple Mountain does, their game weekend, and was just blown away by it. The team bought it. I was there working, and the team brought it. That's one of the games they brought for us to play in our downtime. And so they had a game going, so I got to sit in a couple of different times on it. And there's a copy at the office, but I hadn't picked it up. And I didn't know it was app driven until, we sat down to play it that day. But man, it is just so good. It really is. So I actually have a copy on the way. And you're right. It's an overland adventure. It's not necessarily a dungeon crawl. This one, you're literally it's overland. So you can be in some dungeons, but some overland stuff. But you're wandering around trying to solve the issue. You're going on this huge adventure. And, your choices matter. And that's the whole reason behind the system that they've created here is that your choices matter. The things that you do, people are going to remember you as you build a reputation. It will make a difference for you when you go to talk to someone in a later chapter. If you didn't find a certain weapon, when you go to fight a certain animal, it's going to be more difficult. It's very well produced. And again, even though it's got the app, and so it's got voice, narration, and music, which is all very well done. Even though those things are laid out for you, it's still so evocative rather. It still just fires at least for me, it still fires my imagination of the moments that aren't being narrated, the gameplay moments, what my avatar is going through, what's in their mindset. This is what they're thinking. And that's what you want. I mean, you come away from this genre, the whole point is to feel like you've been on an adventure. Obviously, there are tons more games. What I want to do right quick to go back to the beginning of what I was talking about over on BGG. So if you're on an entry for a game, if you're looking a game up and you're on the regular BGG site, if you click on see full credits and then scroll down, the screen that you'll see two things at the very bottom of that information. You'll see mechanisms. You'll see three. You'll see categories, mechanisms, and family. And I pulled my entry from categories, and I'm telling everybody this. I'm not just sharing it with you, Alex, but I'm like, this is such a wonderful tool for you to use in BGG. I didn't really mean to turn this into an impromptu how to use BGG session, but this is such a cool way to use this because you go in, you find a game you love, you hit see full credits, go down to categories, and if you click on any one of the categories, because they'll all have more than one, click on any one of the categories, you're going to find more games like that. So this is specifically aimed at the new users. If you're just getting into board games and you're trying to figure out, hey, I love Dice Throne. So go down there. What are the categories? Card game, dice, fantasy, and fighting. Click on any of those. You'll get the full list as it's curated on BGG. It's not everything in the whole wide world just yet, but everything that BGG has curated. Let me just click on one. I'll click on fantasy because I know card game and dice will have 1 billion entries. And this one has 15,245 entries. So surely you can find another. And then if you click on that, it says see all of them. Then you can just scroll through. And so that's just a little quick extra bonus inside the segment of how we kind of use, or how I use BGG, but how it can help you figure out your genre. So my genre for this time, adventure games, and Alex's dice dictating action games, or dice rolling, or dice games, which is fan.
Well, but they're more than just dice games.
Well, the thing is, that's only one. Yeah, that's only one of the categories. Yeah. There's tons. Yeah, there's tons of other stuff that's involved in that. So I like your dice dictating action game. I like that. I think we should petition to have that be used as an official category now on BGG.
Done. Will
I like
do.
that. I like that. All right, let's take a short break, and we'll be right back, moving right along.
And we are right where we left you.
No, man, that ain't how you do it.
Oh, sorry. You want me to try it again?
Yeah, man. Try it.
Okay. And we are the place that's between your neck and your bottom.
Okay, you got one more shot at it, Chief.
Okay.
And then you're gonna be banned forever.
Oh, really? Is that a threat or a promise?
No, man, that's a threat. Also, too, when the intros come in, you're going to have to play Kajudo by yourself.
You threaten, but I don't even think you can find a copy anymore. So, and we are back, of course. Your two favorite board game podcast. Actually, yes, unknown board game podcasters. Oh man, thanks for bearing with us through that break. I know it was tough not hearing our voices. What do we do? I can hear it. I can see it. I sense the terror in you. Larry, I just want to say what a sizzling segment we had previous. I mean, I was on the edge of my seat when you were talking about those adventure games. I felt like I went on an adventure game myself. So what do you have for us next? I can't wait. I truly can't. Sir, please tell us what is next on the list.
We are going to do a little revisit Revelry.
Oh, you and your alliteration, sir. Oh, I even like it with the little eyebrow bouncy thing you just did there. Oh, man, maybe we should go to video. I keep saying that, and I'm the one that doesn't do it. Yeah, no, you're right. There's no...
I wasn't going to bring it up.
At this point, it's just ironic now, and I think it's somewhat more entertaining for me.
Gotcha. So what we're going to do this time, we're going to revisit a title that we've played and maybe give you some ongoing impressions of living with the game and just talking about the facts maybe that we've picked up. I think what is prescient in what we're doing here is that, and Alex and I talked about this off air some time ago, about, for most of us here in the U.S. anyway, the games that we grew up loving, or the games that we played when we were younger for our formative years, the reason why we love those games so much because we played them so much, because it's all we had. You know, I didn't have the 600 plus board games that I have now growing up. You know, I had Fortress America at one point. Literally, that was it as far as what I owned. You know, what was in the house was Monopoly and Payday, you know, and Life and all my children. We had played those, but what I owned at one point was Fortress America. And so we played
I love the fact that your family had a Days of Our Lives board game. All my children. Excuse me. Sorry. No. Yeah. I watched Days of Our Lives as a kid. My grandmother watched All My Children until they canceled it.
I will jump on somebody for that. Me and my older sister. It's so funny.
Please explain I know this isn't, I know I'm hijacking this for a second, but please explain to me how they converted a daytime soap opera into a board game.
Man, I can barely remember. I can't remember well enough to tell you. I will look it up and answer it on a segment on the show, I promise. Okay. But I have a tremendous soft spot for that because I don't remember how we got it. I'm pretty sure we probably got it because of my sisters and my mom, you know, being fans of the franchise. And it was the summertime. And me and my oldest sister was gone to work, and me and my older sister were young enough we didn't have jobs yet. We couldn't work yet. And so we didn't have anything to do. And so I think she suggested it, and I remember thinking, there is no way. Now, it was already well established that I love board games, and by this point I was much older than 4, so I did. But I was thinking, oh no, that's a soap opera. I don't want to play that. But I remember the first time we played it, pretty sure something was involved along the lines of, hey, if you play it with me, I'll do dishes for you or something. I'm pretty sure she did that, just to be like, let's play it. But then I played it and I loved it. We did. I had a blast, and that became our thing. So for probably 4 or 5 years, man, as much as we could over the summer, she and I played it, and we never even offered to play it with other people. We did. My older sister played it with us sometime, but we just loved playing each other. And I loved that game. I loved playing it with her. She had it up until a few years ago. She says she doesn't know where that copy is.
Oh, my goodness.
And we've been looking for it. But yeah, no, all my children, that was a real thing. But like I was saying, even the same thing for that. I mean, as you play the game and you play them so much, you get, you start getting into the nuances. And that's what makes you love them so much. Familiarity definitely breeds comfort. And so that's kind of what Revisit Revelry was kind of all about, just a little bit. And we haven't done it a lot. As much as I would like, so maybe we'll bring it back more, but I will get it started this time. And mine is an oldie but a goodie. I recently had a game day with some friends, with some family, and I brought out Star Realms. And I have been playing it on the app. I own the app, and I told you, White Wizard's booth at Origins was a thing of beauty, dude. It literally, you walked in that door at Origins, because they were right up front, and I'll tell you what it put me in the mind of. Walking into Toys R Us as a kid. That one booth, just their booth, not all of everything else that was going on. And I mean, Catalyst was up there and, Arcane Wonders, but just their booth. And it's because of the colors and because of the way, their merchandising, I meant to say something to them, was fantastic. Because it did. It just put you in the mindset of, ooh, toys. And their booth was always busy, but that kind of fired me up. And I stayed away from it. I walked past it all 4 days I walked past it. And I was like, not doing it. But I started playing the app. I was a happy app. And then, of course, I got my set out. And then we got an opportunity to play, and people were like, hey, we want to play some new stuff. I was like, Star Realms. So sat it in front of a new gamer, sat it in front of another gamer who was a gamer but had never played it. So it was new to him, but he had the mindset. This other gamer's new gamer. He's just getting the mindset.
Yeah,
coming from Monopoly, just getting it. And we loved it. In fact, I lost. He beat me. New gamer he was doing it, and he was literally looking at me going, I don't know what I'm doing. Because I was telling him, I was like, show me your cards. And they were like, oh, man, well, play that one. And then play that one, because that one will make me do this. And then that one will do that. And just, oh, you beat me. And and the other guy was like, yeah. And I was like, yay. And he was like, I don't know. But he's like, it is fun. And we ran another one, and he played the other guy, and he was getting into it. Guys, if you haven't played it, it is a deck builder. It is one of the pure and simple deck builders. You have, of course, the cards in the middle.
No, it's not a... Oh, yeah. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
No.
It's absolutely a deck builder.
Sorry.
It's got all the tropes, meaning everybody starts with identical hands. You buy cards from the middle. This one is a combative, game, because you're attacking your foe. Also, you can, of course, the other staple of deck builders is that you can cull your hand. So you can get rid of cards permanently so that you can get to the good ones. So you're trying to build your deck up. There's 4 simple factions based on 4 simple colors. It's just fun. I love it's space. Everybody already knows. If you're new here, Larry in space, just get over it. Larry loves space.
One of the things that I thought Star Realms did that I don't think I've ever seen any other game do, but it just endeared me to that game more than anything else, is that it said, hey, buy the base box, which supports 2 players. Mm-hmm. Okay? And buy it at a very reasonable price.
Yes.
Then,
$15.
If you want to play more than 2 players, buy a second box, and you combine the 2.
Yeah.
Which I just like, oh man. Then instead of buying, more game than you need, because ultimately when you put the 2 together, you're effectively buying what would have been a normal, 4-player deck builder anyway.
Yeah. One of the cool things about it though too, because that's probably the most practical and coolest thing about it, what you just said. Just 100% hands down. I think that is phenomenal. I would put that as my number 1 also. What I would put number 2, which is super fun to me, is the fact that when you do that, let's say you and I did that. Well, I own a deck, obviously, I own a set. Let's say you own a set. The way they release promos and the other sets, stuff that's not even promos, just the sets that they've released, it's optional. You don't have to buy it.
Yeah.
So when we go to play each other, if we kept our decks separate, I'd have a totally different experience with your deck than you have with mine. And I love that about it.
Yeah.
And it's not game breaking because I got the Origins there. I got my deck the year it came out at Origins. That's the year I went to Origins. And I got the promos that year. And I don't know if they've been released since then. I would imagine that they have been. And they're not game breaking. They're really cool to have. They are a mercenary faction. There's a mercenary faction that can beat any faction. And they're faction bonuses when you play cards of the same color, so that's why they're cool. But this particular ship is a fighter. Most of the other ones mimic some other one aspect of the ship. This particular one is a fighter, so it fights, and it's got a pretty decent fight stat, but then it mimics and can beat. And they gave away 2 of them with any purchase, so I have 2 of those in my deck. So I'll never forget it when we came back and we had the Dave ran a tournament and roll the dice in the first location. That's how long ago this was. Wow.
Yeah.
And everybody brought their own deck though. And so when we started, everybody got an opportunity to host a game, in other words. There was one game, my deck was in a box. I played with Austin's deck. And then when he and I met the third time, we played with my deck, which was what the company had set up, by the way. That wasn't something David come up with. That's just how they set it up. But it was so cool. I remember Austin said that when one of those mercenary cards came up on the roll, he's like, I don't have that card in my deck. He's like, wait, what does that do? He picked it up and read it. He's like, oh my God, that's pretty cool. Where'd you get that? I'm like, I got it at Origins. He was like, oh man, that's cool. But that's one of the things that I found since then, just playing the game, you can kind of build out your entire deck. So it's not only a deck builder when you're playing it, but you can build your middle deck it's normally about 50 cards, 50 or 60 cards. And there's so many sets now. And yes, there's a solo mode. And yes, it's like playing it on the app, but it's playing with the cards. And I prefer that actually a little bit. The card does a lot of bookkeeping for you, which is obviously fantastic for obvious reasons. But having the cards out in front of you too is still pretty cool. So definitely for me, Star Realms. This one was designed by Robert Daughtry and Darren Castle. Of course, published by Wise Wizard Games. And it was originally released that year in 2014, as we just said. That's my revisit Revelry. It's gotten better with age. The stamp for me is, it's gotten better with age. And if they both look like that at Gen Con, I'm probably not going to walk past it. I'm just saying.
So my game is, we're talking about games that we've lived with a majority of our gaming life. And one of the, if not the first actual hobby level board game that I ever purchased, that's not excluding some type of dungeon crawler or a risk game, is The Pillars of the Earth. This is based on the book by Ken Follett. It's designed by Michael Reinick and Stefan Stadler. Published originally by Cosmos Games. I think originally published by... Oh my goodness, I don't even remember. But it's had a couple of different owners. So now, why did I pick this game? Because it's one of those that sat on my shelf for quite some time. Because again, I've had it for almost 15 years now. No, not that long. Maybe 10 years. So it's one of the longest. It's been in my collection the longest. And it was the first that really ever introduced me to worker placement. But it does worker placement in such a unique way. First, you kind of bid for where you're going to put your workers before you actually place them. But more importantly than that, it has a turn selection mechanic I've not seen in any other game, and I think it's brilliant. What happens is you have 4 pawns, and they're put into a bag. You pull those pawns out one at a time, and then you place them on this track numbered 7 to 0. So the first pawn that's pulled out is put into the 7 spot. What happens is if that's your color, you have the option to now move your pawn into an action space. And the action spaces are limited. So, it's very much first come, first serve. But you pay 7 gold to move your pawn into an action space. If you don't have the gold or you don't want to spend it, you can pass. You leave your pawn there. Then another pawn is pulled. It's put in the 6th spot. Then the color of that player can then pay to move their pawn out in that. So there's this really great balance of like, do I spend my gold to move my pawn into a space before anyone else does to get the thing that I need or whatever's really powerful out there? Or do I wait and save? Because ultimately what happens is once all the pawns are pulled, it goes back to whatever the first one was pulled. So let's say the person who had 7, if they didn't pay for it, then they would get to place theirs and so on. So it's just really a really neat thing. The cards level up depending on the age. It's incredibly, it's a beautiful board because it's basically sort of the French countryside. The setting of the book. I got it because I was like, I need to find a way to get my wife into board gaming, and this was a book she had just finished reading.
Did you guys ever play it?
Oh my gosh, yes. This is one of her favorites.
Oh, fantastic.
Okay. And it's still one of my favorites as well.
That means I don't play her in that because I will never win. Okay.
Yeah. But again, it's there's just wonderful worker placement stuff that I love. You know, there's you get cards that allow you to do unique things, and there's a conversion of particular resources to victory points, and you can upgrade your craftsmen to make those conversions better. There's global events that take place that affect everybody. There's unique power cards. The game has been out for, let's see, it was released in
2006, sir.
2006. Yeah, so it's been out for 16 years, and I would put it in one of the top 5 best worker placement games in my opinion. Very cool. It's one of those that like I bought having zero idea. I bought it because of the license that it is connected to solely, and not even for myself. I did it for my wife because that was my ploy, just to get her to play. And what an amazing find that I had. And it's probably the game that one of the games that I have played the most in my career, because we've had it the longest and we enjoy it the most.
Very cool.
You can find used copies pretty cheap. I actually think there are new copies. They've re-released it. You know, I think on Amazon, I'm looking right here, $30. And so like you can't go wrong with this game. Especially if you it doesn't last, about an hour and a half, but it's just that if you like worker placement, it's really tight. Everybody's fighting for the same resources, the same spaces. So that's the one. And we just revisited it maybe about a month or two ago with a new board gamer, and we just had a blast, a blast. And this one just keeps bringing a smile to my face every time we bring it out.
I love to hear that. No, that's fantastic. That's what it's all about. That is fantastic. Well, that is our revisit Revelry. It turned into some Revelry. I'm appreciating it. Definitely want to check out Pillars of the Earth, but that's Star Realms by Robert Daughtry, Darwin Castle, published by Wise Wizard, released in 2014, and The Pillars of the Earth by Michael Reineck and Stefan Stadler, published by Cosmos, released originally in 2006. Let us take a short break, and we will be right back. And we are back. And you know what? Actually, because it's the summer of games, so we do a couple of things. We say, wow, for one.
Wow.
We've come to that point. But this is the summer of games, and we cannot leave you without giving you our summer of games game choice. These have been spoken, token, tried, and tested. They are approved. Go out and get them as soon as you finish listening to this. Put them on the table. You will not regret it. I'm going to go first, and mine comes with a couple of caveats. Caveat number one.
They always come with a cup of
Not always. Caveats. No, normally I just throw them out there because I normally pick something like you did, like we normally do, that you can just go pick it up, right away. That's the first thing. You possibly, depending on where you are, check your FLGS if you have one. But if not, you may have to order this one online because it's not as readily available, but it is still available. It is still in print. It's not out of print. Secondly, in terms of sitting it down in front of people, it is a very unique game. Be prepared to play it once to just get the gist of it. Like really play it. Not sit down and move the pieces by yourself, but literally sit down and have your friends there and say, boom, we're about to play this. Let's do it. expect that second time you do that for things to click, but when it clicks, it's so good. And that is the reason why I am pushing this one as my Summer of Games game choice, and that is Euphoria, Build a Better Dystopia. It's by Jamie Stegmaier and Alan Stone, published by Stonemaier Games, released initially in 2013. Just give you a couple of the quick mechanisms involved in the game, because trying to go into it, the rules of it is a little difficult. I'll try to give you a little bit of a really high overview here in a moment. But it's hand management, set collection, variable player powers, worker placement with dice workers. With amazing components, incredible art. It's over the top, early Stonemaier production.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, this is like quintessential Stonemaier.
Yeah, he was showing us what was to come.
Yeah.
Literally, this came from out of nowhere and blew everyone away with all of those things.
This was pre-Scythe.
Yes. Oh, yeah. If any of this sounds amazing to you, then absolutely hunt down a copy. Go and play a copy of Euphoria, Build a Better Dystopia. That's literally what you're trying to do. You have workers. You're trying to basically, as a gist of it, you're trying to get rid of 10 stars. Is how you win the game. Everybody starts the game with 10 stars. There are certain things you do around the board to place one of your colored stars down in that spot. The first person to do that wins the game. But you're basically using your workers, and you're trying to get them to work as hard as possible without them getting any smarter, so that they don't know how bad the conditions really are. So it's right there in the title, Euphoria, Build a Better Dystopia. And so a lot of tongue-in-cheek stuff, but it's very well designed. So many clever mechanisms in terms of how things manage and certain numbers move, and you want happiness for certain reasons, and you don't want the people to do other things, but you want to be happy, and how those things govern. If you like Stonemaier games, it's definitely, again, it's quintessential Stonemaier. So where you've got slider tracks that you're trying to rise up on to help certain things, but they also may hurt you in another area or make things challenging for you. Again, fantastic artwork, such an unusual theme. So, Euphoria, Build a Better Dystopia by Jamie Stegmaier and Alan Stone. That is my game. Go get a copy. They're available. You won't regret it. Mr. Alex.
All right. My Summer of Games choice for this episode is Picture Perfect, designed by Anthony Novu, produced by Corax Games and Arcane Wonder. This is just a simple deduction game with lots of fun interactions. You're ultimately trying to put a bunch of standees around a table in a picture using rules that you only see a little bit at a time, so you don't know everything, and you're kind of getting stuff from people. There's an auction sort of module that you can add to it that adds a whole nother element that makes it significantly more competitive. But on the base level, it's really just, it's not very competitive because everybody gets the same amount of information. It's passed by, and it's just a fun little puzzle to try and do. And it's fun to move the people around to try and get the best picture. So that is Picture Perfect. You can find this at Barnes & Noble, at Amazon. Any other major retailer will have this, and we'll probably have it for a reasonable price. I definitely recommend this if you like deduction games.
Very cool.
And if you, this is a good one to bring out for people who maybe aren't necessarily gamers, because again, there's not a lot that you're asked to do. And it's pretty easy to sort of fall into. So go get it right now. Picture Perfect.
Very cool. That is Euphoria, Build a Better Dystopia by Jamie Stegmaier and Alan Stone, published by Stonemaier, released in 2013, and Picture Perfect.
Released in 2020, designed by Anthony Novu, published by Corax Games and Arcane Wonder.
But I thought Arcane Wonder is very, very cool. Well, sir, that is it. And for those of you wondering, no, we haven't forgotten about our games that we're playing. Things are happening, and we're having fun with that. We're gonna leave it at that. So hey, listen, everybody. Programming notes. We are working really hard to keep everything on schedule, but of course, our birthday is coming. In fact, this is probably about the time we were recording the first episode. Way back when, because we remember we released when Gen Con, the week of Gen Con was that week we released on the 1st. So Gen Con is the show's birthday. I will be at Gen Con this year. So we don't have anything set up as of now for a remote sort of anything, but Alex and I are going to cook some stuff up to make sure we can get you guys some content, even if it's not during, it may be after the fact, but just bear with us, play some games, spend some time with your family, have a great time, and Mr. Alex, you want to take us out, sir?
For the Spoken Token, I am Alex Wallace saying keep playing.
And this is Larry Neal saying keep communicating.
This has been the Spoken Token Podcast. If you'd like to interact with us, please contact us through email at thespokentokenpodcast@gmail.com, on Instagram at The Spoken Token Podcast, on Twitter at The Spoken Token, or on Facebook at The Spoken Token Podcast. And you can reach us through our BGG Guild, number 2656.
You are listening to a Pod Studio One Podcast Network podcast. Find more great podcasts at www.podstudio1.com.